time I move my finger. What a world, what a life. I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing.
Citizenship and Immigration Canada administers Canada's multiculturalism program, which supports appreciation, understanding of our incredible cultural diversity in this country. And we're proud to partner really for the first time with Heritage Toronto and Band for this Black History Month event. On vous souhaite la bienvenue. Citoyenneté et Immigration est carrément fier de parrainer cet événement ce soir. It's often said that music is a universal language. So what better way to promote intercultural understanding than through music? So please, let's play on.
I want to start by asking Archie and Ada, what was it like trying to even break into the scene? We know that you went on to perform with Count Basie and Billie Holiday and all the other greats, but how did you break into the scene? What was it like sort of saying, I want to be a musician, I want to make a living doing this, and getting on CBC or getting club gigs? What was that like?
Well, I come from a musically inclined family. Mm-hmm. In fact, my nephew is here somewhere, and my son is here also. He plays bass. Michael sings, and he's been in a lot of plays here in Toronto. I came here from the States, as you know. Right. And when I came, I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't thinking about, the prejudices or whatever they were, because I never felt it. I'm one of 13 children. I have a brother who passed away. See, we were all musically inclined. And John Dillard, we call him, Dilly Lytle, was a beautiful vibra-harpist and a hell of a drummer, And I arrived here on the bus. And the first place that I went to work in was in Windsor, where they have the casino.
Right.
And I wanted to go over, after I had been in Windsor for a while, I wanted to go over to Detroit, to do some. The manager of the hotel wouldn't allow me to go over, and I still couldn't understand, because prejudice was not in my mind. I had never thought about it because I wasn't raised with the thought of what prejudice would we do for me, But when I arrived here, I met some people who were very, very, very influential in my life while I was here, and I'm quite sure you know Maurice Kessler.
Maurice Kessler, yeah.
Yeah, and he was.
Hello, that's better.
Yeah, and Oscar Peterson.
Right.
I never, Oscar Peterson was like another brother, Getting work here was no problem.
That's interesting.
I'm still thinking, why was I one of the chosen few, I will say, in it? Because the one person that I met when I came here was Phyllis Marshall. Mm-hmm. And she was a great entertainer. And in fact, I gave my very first concert in St. Lawrence City, which is, I look around and I say, this can't be. It can't be St. Lawrence City, no. And I had a gentleman, he was a beautiful musician, but he wouldn't control his orchestra. His name was Chad Moses, Beautiful musician, but he just wouldn't control, because there's certain things that an entertainer, a singer, needs for someone to be in control of what's going on behind, pushing them, not go ahead of them, I ran into prejudice at a place that I had to go and get this agent's contract back for him because he had contracted to these people that he was going to supply them with entertainment, you know. And this was in a little town, well, I don't think it's little, Barrie, Ontario. And I think that's where Phyllis Marshall was born. But I ran into it there when the man found out that I was black. He wanted to cancel my contract. And that's the only time that I felt like I got to fight for myself, you know, because I didn't recognize what, you know, at that time until I went to the agent and I said, you were asking me to get your contract back with this man in order to continue putting entertainment in there, you know. I said, but he didn't want me there. And this was a hotel.
What year was that, you know?
Okay, I came to Canada in 1958.
Okay.
But I had been here before, you know, but not to stay. I come in and do a show and do it. And we found out this one particular agent, Billy O'Connor. And he had booked me in and out, you know, so I enjoyed it. But when I ran into this particular type of prejudice, you know, I've always thought that in our business, in the theater, and in the entertainment life, that it was not there, you know. I began to realize, because even when I was going to high school, I didn't recognize it was prejudice there until I got to senior high school.
Right.
Then, and that was in my hometown, you know. But living here in Toronto for the years that I was here, I got a lot of jobs that I knew that a lot of other singers weren't getting. And I think, you know, the old saying about it isn't what you know, is who you know. And it was the truth. But I couldn't understand. They used to say, if I went into a club where another singer was singing, they would say, oh, here come Ada Lee. Somebody's going to get her. She's getting somebody's job. Well, it wasn't that. It was just that you would have that night. Now, we call it today, with a little, everybody, open mic.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what they had then, but they didn't call us that, you know. We'd call you up, oh, Ada's here, or Jody Drake, who was another pioneer,
Right.
you know. And we would go up and sing. Not that I'm looking for a job, because I already have a job. You know?
Ada, could you bless us with your voice? Could you do us a song,
No, I
please?
can't.
No, please? Archie, can you ask her? She might listen.
Come on, baby, let me see the back of you.
I'd like to introduce you to my son, George Lee. I never thought I would see the day that I'd have my son on the same stage with me, you know.
There you go. History.
He's a good musician. He takes direction. You'll have to excuse me, I have a cold, and right now, where's my Jack Daniels? On a string, sitting on a rainbow. I got that string around my finger. Lucky me, can't you see? I'm in love. I got a song that I'll sing. I could make that rain go anytime I move my finger. What a world, what a life. I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing. As long as I hold the string, I'd be a lucky so and so. If I should ever let go, but I won't. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. I've got that string around my finger. Lucky me, can't you see? I'm in love. He thinks he's Oscar Peterson. Life is a beautiful thing. As long as I hold a string, I'd be a happy and a lucky so and so. If I should ever let go, I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. I've got that string around my fingers. Lucky me, can't you see? I'm in love. Ooh, can't you see? Can't you see? I'm in love. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're my son. Generally, I not want to stay up here too much longer, but I'm serious when I don't lie. Not much, but I do have a cold. It's the truth.
If that's how she
And,
sings when she has a cold,
I always have something from the balcony over here. But no,
it was me.
was that you?
Guilty as
We
charged.
just met.
I know. I have no shame.
Well, I want to thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Because Black history means a lot to us, regardless of where we come from. But see, sometimes in the different races, they still don't know why they're prejudiced. They have no idea. You ask them, and it give you one reason, you know. And that's not good enough reason, because if you look around, you'll see there's black marrying white, white marrying black, Italians marrying Africans. Pavarotti didn't do such a bad job. So if we remember that we do have a big heart to let other people into our lives, regardless whether they're black, blue, green, yellow, or red, because this world would be so much better, so much love, that you wouldn't be able to stand yourself. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Different. There was a lot of prejudice here. There was a lot of discrimination. I was one of the first black musicians to infiltrate the
I like that word a lot. Say it again.
infiltrate the white establishment, which I was resident drummer at the Town Tavern and at the Colonial Tavern for 13 years. But prior to that, there weren't any black musicians on Yonge Street in any of the clubs. The first musician to break that barrier was Cy McLean, who was from Nova Scotia. And he went into the Colonial Tavern in 1947. And after that, and up and down Yonge Street, there were a number of clubs starting from Bloor Street all the way down to Queen Street. Lots of clubs, the Zanzibar and all that, and of course the Blackburns were taken over. That's when the R&B scene started, you know, but the jazz scene, it was not easy. And I got a lot of, I was called a lot of names other than what my mother named me. And there weren't very many. A lot of the community, the black community, did not come out to the clubs because they never felt welcome. And it's a shame, but that's the way it went, you know. But we had our own clubs within our own community. It was like the Spadina and Dundas. I was born on Queen Street next to the Cameron Hotel in the building that is there. And so I know the area quite well. The Kensington Market was my playground, you know. So, and I still go down there. My daughters are down here. They live down there still. So the scene, I did what they call the crossover. I left the Spadina Dundas area because I wanted to be a musician, and I wanted to make my living as a musician. In order to do that, I had to make the crossover from Spadina and Dundas and go to Bloor and Avenue Road in Bloor, where the clubs, the after-hours clubs started. So I started infiltrating the after-hours clubs and all that, and kept going. And that was part of my schooling. That's how I learned how to play, you know. And it wasn't easy at times, but finally, well, even with the Toronto Musicians Association, Cy McLean and his band members were the first ones to be allowed in the Toronto Musicians Association. No blacks were allowed in the association at that time.
Wow.
And what they did was they would make the fee so high that no one could afford it, or you would have to go through a test of reading music. And most of the musicians, some read and some didn't, you know. But I'll give you a little story about the white and blackness. I had a friend of mine, his name was Mort Ross. He was a saxophone player. He was a Jewish fellow. And he said, Arch, there's an ad in the paper here, because this was for a summer engagement. Summer engagements were a great part of a musician's livelihood, because you could go away for a couple of months and work all summer in one of the resorts. You get paid, you eat, you sleep, and you have a good time. And so he said, this guy wants a drummer and he wants a saxophone player. Let's go audition. So we called the guy up, and we auditioned, and we left. And Mort called me about 2 hours later and said, Archie, I got the job. He said, but he's a little afraid about taking you up to Muskoka, because he's afraid of how they're going to accept a black person up there. I said, well, that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to call the union, and I'm going to report him. So I called the union. Norm Harris was the secretary at the time, and Walter Murdoch was the president, who was pretty well a racist at that time. But I went down, saw Norm Harris, and he called the chap down that had put the ad in the paper, sat us both down, and said right away, he said, why can't you take Archie up there? He says, well, I don't know how they're going to accept a black musician up there. He said, well, I'll tell you this. If Archie doesn't go, there's no job. Nobody's going. I'm going to cancel it. So he said, Archie, did you want to go? I said, no, because I just got offered another job up in Muskoka, a mile away, for 2 months, and this was with the Graham Topping, one of the fine trumpet players that was in the city. So I think I'll take that job. And that job lasted for 3 summers, you know. So that's just one of the incidents that went on, you know. So the union, I mean, it changed up. There's a lot of prejudice within the city. It never goes away. It still exists, just in three-piece suits now, that's all. But as far as the music industry itself is concerned for the black musicians, there's still a lot of problems. And that's not necessarily because of the black and white. It's because there's nowhere for the musicians to perform anymore. There are no after-hours clubs like we used to have. We used to have Dad's First Floor Club, the best after-hours club in this city. Everyone was up there. Horace Silver, Art Blakey, Frank West of the Count Basie Band. And they always used to come up there and play, and that was their schooling. We would jam. I worked with Don Thompson, DT Don Thompson, saxophone player. And we played till Ray Downs, of course, who was one of the finest pianists in the country. And we would play till 4 o'clock in the morning on the weekends, you know. But that was our schooling, and the musicians from out of town would come and say, man, there's a church and a bank on every corner up here, you know. I said, yeah, but none of them belong to us, you know. So, but anyway, that's a little bit of it. I got a lot of stories. I could sit here and tell you a lot of stories.
Saidah, when I interviewed you a few years back, you said, I'm not making this up, you know, you guys. You know,
I know
you said, I don't fit into any box of what a black woman in music should be doing. And even the ones who are fitting that so-called box are just as frustrated. We heard the challenges that they faced. Talk about the challenges if you were facing in the 2000s.
Well, my name is Saidah Baba Talibah. That's a challenge in itself. Okay? My parents named me that. My father's last name is Matthews, so my name is Saidah Baba Talibah Matthews. I decided, exactly. Yeah. I decided that I don't need Matthews because, you know, Saidah Baba Talibah is enough. But my name is a challenge. My name is a challenge because people just don't know how to say it, and they want to make it easy, and they want to make it homogenized. And you know, rather than asking me, what does it mean? Why are you named that? Or is that your name? Or, you know, I've gotten messages, you know, you're really great, but if you change your name, you'll get so much further.
Seriously, eh?
I am absolutely serious. Absolutely serious. So that's one barrier. So they're not sure, okay, is she Muslim? Well, yeah, my names are Muslim because my grandfather was Muslim. But no, I'm not Muslim. But they're Arabic names. So Talibah, if you change the H to an N, then all people are like, she's part of the Taliban. And I am so serious. I am so serious. You know, I ran into that going over to England. Well, you know, I don't know, you know, maybe. So I know that that's one of the challenges that I run into. And then when people see me, even though I think I look about what I do, thank you. I know that. Thank you. I got good genes. I know that when people do meet me, they think, oh, so you do R&B, jazz? I'm like, well, that's part of my lineage,
if you want.
But that's not what I do. You know, I could do it if you want me to, but that's not what I do. That's not what that stirs me. That's not what gets me on stage. What I like is is I like it a little heavier. I like it a little edgier. I like it a little, like, what always inspired me was watching my mom sing the blues and how real and how raw and how tangible it was, and just guttural and really strong as a woman. So I just wanted to take it a step further, you know. So that, being a black woman, I'm supposed to do R&B, pop, you know, Rihanna, Beyonce, something like that. Not too heavy with the guitars, not too rock, not too, you know, I like to get down and dirty, spread my legs, and yes, I do.
Scandalous.
And I like to have Jack Daniels too. But that's what my mother taught me, you know? So those are the barriers, like my name and the music that
And
I
the image
choose
and-
to,
yeah. It's a triple threat almost, right?
and being a woman, being a black woman, choosing to do rock.
But then your mom,
inspired.
yeah, I'm sorry, your mom was a pioneer, and you know, she took no prisoners. You saw that there were examples, you know, that were clear, and you also saw that in the music. The music had that strength and that "don't mess with me" vibe, right?
Absolutely.
And it's
her
not
fault.
it's not stopping you.
No.
So then, talk about how you turn the negative into a positive. Like Archie talked about all these, the names he was called, and people not giving him gigs, but they were like exciting times back then. So talk about the exciting times now.
Oh,
I mean,
exciting, sorry.
how is that sound being impacted and influenced by people from every corner of the world who are here? Because I mean, when I talk about, you know, my mandate in the Sun every Friday is to talk about local bands, and it's one of few venues in the city where you can write about a local band every Friday, because music journalism is just shrinking. It's criminal what's happening. And on Big City Small World on CBC on Saturday evenings, I have to talk about a local band, and I've been doing that for the past 5 or 6 years, and I have no trouble talking about local bands because there are some incredible fusions coming out here which are blowing my mind. So talk about the exciting part, the flip side of operating in Toronto.
The flip side of, I mean, just being a Torontonian, being born in Toronto, we've got the blessing of having so many cultures and so much music. Growing up in my household, I had all kinds of records. But then I'd turn on the radio and I could hear Sting, and I could hear Whitney Houston, and I could hear, you know, Rush, and I could hear, you know, like I could hear everything. So it wasn't, it's not odd for me, I think, to do what I'm doing. You know, like
Right.
that's what I grew up listening to. Going out and listening to music, that live music, there's so much fresh, interesting music happening on all spectrums.
And while you may not include maybe, I don't know, African rhythms or Indian rhythms in what you're doing, are you
No, it's
seeing...
always there. The foundation is the drum.
Right.
The foundation is the drum.
I'm talking about
That's
very,
the
very kind
heartbeat.
of explicit, like, oh, you know...
Oh, I'm not going and saying I want to use...
Tabla.
No,
Oh, yeah.
no.
But are you seeing that changing the complexion of the quote-unquote black sound in Toronto? Like, are you seeing bands mixing and matching sounds? Like,
Absolutely.
you are, okay.
Absolutely.
And are you, in your travels, you said you're going to be heading to Australia soon.
Yeah.
Are you hearing these kind of fusions in those other places?
In Australia, it seems that reggae music is really the thing. It's, you know, like Michael Franti and,
Right.
you know, like, what's his name? Xavier Rudd.
Right.
You know, kind of jam bandy, kind of really rootsy in that sense. But then they're also mixing the Aboriginal sound. So there's, you know, wherever we go, we're influenced by the sounds that are around us. and then by our family, and then by what stirs us. So it becomes, everyone becomes a gumbo, a melting pot of music that we put forth.
And I think for you, the ultimate payback is, when you get these kind of ignorant remarks like, your name and your look and your sound, is like, I've been to your shows and it's just like United Nations audience,
After the whole, like, my name thing, I made it a mission for every show to take the time out and have people do a call and answer with me so you know how to say my name. Because we grow up with Sarahs and Jacks and Jills and Peters and, and stuff that we can read, but we are of the world. The world is not as big as we think it is. We can get on a plane. I mean, mind you, it takes about 20 hours to get to Australia, but it is 20 hours you can get on a plane and be on the other side of the world. So why not be of this world and learn something else other than, eat some other food, listen to some other music, because we are of the world. So I will not change my name because of the fact that there are people all over the world with different names, and we just have to wrap our tongues around different names.
Right.
Right now I'm working on my second album, and it's called Red, Black, and Blue. And it's based on my relationships with my mother, my sister, and my daughter, and how they shape who I am, and learning about, I guess, forgiveness and empowering myself through forgiveness, basically. So this is a song that I wrote about my mother. My mother has been dealing with dementia for, let me see. Oh my gosh, for a while, at least 10 years, slow onset. So it's hard to go and visit her. I'm sure you understand. It's hard to visit her and not sometimes be able to communicate with her and get these stories, get these, like, what it was like. So that's... She would have stopped to smell the seasons every time they change. She would dance under the moonlight even when it waned. She would cover up my bruises, seal them with a kiss, and then she'd sing lullabies to monsters underneath my bed. She would sing a melody to every page she turned. She'd reach out to touch the fire, knowing it would burn. She would travel the world and bring a piece back for me. She was more than any superhero could ever be. But sometimes I catch her lost in space, eyes wide open, looking at my face. But she was gone. Things she don't need to keep, and she holds them in her hands so tight, her palm might bleed. And I sing lullabies to monsters sitting by her side. And every time I kiss her lips, I hope it's not goodbye. But sometimes I catch her lost in space, eyes wide open, looking at my face. But she was gone. To another place. Thank you. Thank you.
Brooke, over to you. In terms of barriers and the exciting part of being a musician in Toronto, you play a lot of gigs around with your brothers, and you have solo gigs and stuff. Can you address some of the issues?
For me, I'm 10 years older than Saidah, so it's almost like 10 years is a whole different lifetime in the music business sometimes, you know, at my time. So I started playing when I was 15, and the first gig I ever did downtown was at the Horseshoe Tavern. So it was kind of cool, and actually my friends, well, the other people in the band had to sign me out of school in the afternoon to go for a sound check at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Nice. So and they left me there. So I'm hopping on the bus and the subway with all my gear and going downtown to Queen Street to play this gig, and then and then playing for a long time around the Queen Street area. When Blackburn was happening first, it was Queen Street, the Bamboo Club.
Oh yeah,
and the Rivoli and the Horseshoe and stuff like that, and that was like very happening. But it was like those were the area. Queen Street was the area for multiculturalism in the music business at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I found that there was a lot of other clubs, but it was mainly that. And then we went from there basically to the Blue Note, and I played there for a few years, you know, with different bands. But it wasn't really the Blackburn thing. That was actually even before that. But when the Blackburn scene came on, it was that scene. But just prior to that, I'll tell you a story which is very interesting for me. Is growing up in Toronto and the West, in Mississauga, Toronto. It's I had a pleasure of playing with this guy named Eugene Smith. He's called a tenor guitar player, folk singer, tenor guitar player. And we played all around Canada in different places. But we flew out to Nova Scotia in Halifax. And it's the first time I ever seen that this is the neighborhood for black people.
Africville, right?
Yeah, well, Africville and all that part. It was like, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was segregation. I've never seen it before. I know black people could live anywhere, but everybody was in this area, and Gottingen Street and all this part. And I walked around, and it was like Buffalo to me. You know what I mean? It was very, very. I'm serious. It was very different in Canada for me. And so we did this gig at this club in Toronto, in Halifax, for 2 weeks, and we flew out there, and they treated us really well. We got back, and then we're going to go back there the next year. And Eugene got a call, and he says, they said, you know, we really like your band, and we really like you. We want you to come out by yourself. And Eugene's, well, why can't we bring our band? He said, well, to be honest with you, Eugene, don't say anything, but too many black people come into the club because you have a black band with you. And it's like, and Eugene told me, and I said, what? And I've seen segregation, I've seen racism, and I grew up with certain things, you know, but like, that really took me for a loop, and that was Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is, it's another area where many black people came, basically around 1812, because they were colonialists. I believe that they said, come here and fight for us, You know what I mean? And we'll give you a place to live. And I guess believe that Africville was all, but the area wasn't very good for farmland.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so they've been there forever, and yeah, they kind of just accepted it, you know. And then Eugene got on CBC and did a thing with Murray McLaughlin and told this story.
Wow.
Yeah, and mentioned the club and everything. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of felt, you know, that was all right. You know, that was okay.
CBC, the shaming radio station.
Yeah. But my family, you know, through the music business, you know, and doing what we do, I think the only real trials and that we've felt that, I don't know if it is, but we used to play the Bamboo a lot, you know, and I believe in Errol, you wrote about us one time at the Bamboo, and this is going back 96, so.
Gosh, you got a better memory than I have.
Yeah, no, you did, and it was a big thing, and my father got interviewed on City TV that day, and they said, he said, "What do you think about your sons doing what they do?" And he says, "Well, they're really good at what they do. There's not really a market for what they do. I mean, there's nobody doing what they do. You know what I mean? Because we're different. You know, like we came back. We grew up with the roots of the '60s and the '50s. That kind of music. Like I wrote a song called Down in New Orleans, and it's about listening to. My father used to have people come down to the Zanzibar Tavern. I don't know if you all know what the Zanzibar Tavern is on Young Street. It's not just about strippers, so you know there was live bands.
Really?
Live bands used to back the strippers back then, okay? And people used to come and jam.
That's where Archie played all the time.
No, he was at a nicer place on Young Street. But yeah, a lot of people used to come jam with my father. They used to come down, Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff, a lot of organ players. My father's an organ
Jimmy
player.
McGriff, yeah,
Yeah,
massive.
Jimmy McGriff, and people in his band, like Roland Prince, and Rollie Simmons and Terry Logan, all these cats, players, I mentioned guitar players, I'm a guitar player, but they used to, I believe that Roland Prince went off with Jimmy McGriff and then went with Alvin Jones after that fact. So that was the thing, and my father used to make these reel-to-reel tapes of everybody used to come jam. So late at night, I'd be sleeping, and my father would come home and he played these reel-to-reels. So I'd be listening to that, and all of us would be listening to that, and that's the kind of groove we do. So it's kind of different. So around, I'd say 96, my father said, you know, if these guys weren't black, he thinks that we would have got picked up by a record label, which we didn't at that time. And we had a lot of press. So if anything, I don't think it was just the prejudice of being black, but it's the fact that in Canada, they didn't know how to market you nationally. Whereas Toronto, yeah, you can make things happen in Toronto, but to market you nationally, now we are accepted more nationally because we're in the blues scene. You know what I mean? And the blues started off with black people.
Right.
And so people, they like say, okay, well, you know, and it's not the, you know, it is pretty multicultural, but it's not the most multicultural area. You know what I mean? It's because it's gone through different things. But we got on the scene and really woke it up a little bit, you know, brought it back to a certain sound.
Right.
And it's all about groove, man. It's like they just groove. All that music, you know, from way back in the 20s and the 30s and 40s, the reason why these black musicians were so popular and that their music lasted all the way to this day is because they made it groovy.
Right.
People danced, you know what I mean, to that music. And the jazz back in the day was groovy.
Yeah.
And what made it groovy? Well, the black musicians, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not saying anything to any other musicians, but the black musicians brought that natural groove to the sound. And that made people dance. And that's what Blackburn's all about, basically.
Yeah.
Well, you know, most of the music that, specifically the black music, has always been influenced by the American musicians because of the overwhelming population of blacks in the United States, and New York is the mecca of the industry, and so that's where everybody goes. Even all the young people coming out of the universities and the music programs now, they come out of there, I feel sorry for them, because they have to leave here and go south and a lot of them go to New York to study, and they get a better opportunity, but there's a long line up there. I was told when Cannonball Adderley came up here as a while ago, when your dad had the first floor club, Cannonball and they were working at the Colonial, and they came up, and after they were at the Colonial, and then they came to the first floor club, and they heard me playing. I was working with Ron Collier's sextet. And I came off and I met the Cannonball. He says, man, you got to come to New York, man. You shouldn't be up in here. I said, well, the only reason I'm staying here is because I'm afraid to go down there because of the prejudice and the segregation. Not that it doesn't exist here. It does, but it's not as, they're right up in your face down there. If they don't want you, they tell you immediately, you know. And I said, my talent is that. If you have recognized my talent, I would like to go down there. But I worked hard to get to the position where I am now, and being the first call drummer. I just can't leave and leave that, you know, because I'm single. I got money in my pocket.
How did you do that?
Watch out.
For a while, got money in my pocket. You know, I can go home late, don't have to answer to anybody. You know what I'm saying?
I wrote this song for, I wrote it for a gentleman I used to play with before he passed away, a guy named Connie Maynard, a great piano player. I love Connie. I love Connie so much, man. And I think I was one of the last people he played with before he got sick. And he's just wow. So, and then it gives me kind of emotional because I have some friends that have passed away, like Dave Williams and great piano player, and Washington Savage, and another beautiful friend of mine. So every time I play this song, I kind of think of them, you know, and think of Connie, and it's, anyways. And Michael Shan's gonna help me out a little bit, if that's okay. Philosophy and bullshit. Reminisce the past, you made the music last. Whoa, a present from a friend. I said I will never forget. Oh, the times we had the music. Oh, my friend, playing jazz in a smoky bar, your piano, my guitar. Whoa, felt the magic in the air. From your smile I knew that the music was true. Didn't want the night to end. I said I will never forget the times we had the music. Oh, my friend. Now I sit down and play, thinking of the times we had, sharing wine, music, and praise. My memories never ever fade. I said I will never forget the time we had the music, the times we had the music, the times we had the music. Oh, my friend. Oh, my friend. I said, oh, my friend. Oh, my friend. Oh, my friend.
Brooke Blackburn. I have to commend you because, like I said earlier, you know, you could be one of these people that sits home and says, yeah, I played with all these people, but you give so much to the young people coming up. I mean, you've got the scholarship fund happening, you've got the Art of Jazz show, and you're just tireless and you keep doing it. Where are we going? Where's the scene going?
I do remember what I had to go through in order to get to the position that I am in now. And I'm at the stage now, I'm 81 years old and I'm a little tired. Not of the music, of carrying my drums around. Yeah. You know, somebody calls me for a gig and they say, oh man, where is it? It says, so over here on the second floor. I say, I can't do it. You know. But what I am doing, I have the Archie Alleyne Scholarship Fund. My last fundraiser was Sunday at the at Daniel's Spectrum Theater, which is in the Regent Park area, and I love it there. There's a revitalization program that's going on down there. And the Regent Park is such a wonderful place, and it's sometimes taken for granted, and people will say, well, you know, I don't want to go there. It's part of the mosaic of the city, and we should accept it as such, and don't push it to the side. Do something to make them feel better. And thank you.
It's my neighborhood.
I had a wonderful show this past Sunday. It's the third of a series, and I had a portion of my photo exhibit, which I have a little bit out there, exposing some of the musicians that came before all of us and have paved the path for us. It's a very simple exhibit, and it just highlights who they are and explains who they are. But I had my Evolution of Jazz Ensemble, along with Camille Andrew, who is my vocalist. He's been with the ensemble for about 8-9 years now. And nice young lady who I just gave a scholarship, Asia Waith, who goes to Humber Colleges and studying. I just gave her a scholarship last year, and she is with the ensemble now and has such a wonderful, wonderful voice. And as a matter of fact, Greg Gooding, who is my associate, we're going to record them this year sometime and get them out there. I also had the Crack of Dawn. Some of you might remember the Crack of Dawn, the R&B band. That's one of the finest R&B bands we had here. And of course, Jay Jackson, Jay Jackson was last year. Jay Douglas, man, who is a fine entertainer. Thank you. And also Dwayne Morgan, and a young gentleman that lives in Regent Park. His name is Mustafa the Poet.
I've been told to keep my, I've been told to watch out for this kid.
He is absolutely wonderful. He is a poet and so sensitive, and I don't call his poetry is lyrical, and he's so expressive. As a matter of fact, to the point where we spontaneously gave him a scholarship on Sunday because he wants to go to university and study. So we presented him.
Amazing.
Because we didn't have one. I'm so glad. Thank you. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back, and I'm trying to make sure that we don't forget where we came from and who helped us and where we are now. It's fine that we are where we are now, but there are a lot of people that came before me and made it easy, and I'm going to push my my catalog that I have out there. It's out there, and it has all the earlier musicians who are Toronto musicians from Toronto black families, and they should be recognized and not forgotten, you know.
We have a concert every year, and it's the proceeds always go to some charity, you know. We have found that in Peterborough, you know, like I hate to say this, but this is true. I never thought that I would be going and marrying into a white environment, completely white, because my children and I were the first interracial couple in Peterborough, you know, which is not that far from Toronto. But I have tried to use my voice and my music toward helping other people, you know, and they could not understand that, you know. My mother, who was, to me, was the greatest mother in the world, she always said, get to them before they get to you. And you must realize that that is a true thing. You must do that. And when you're doing that, you carry your heart to them. so that they in turn will understand where you're coming from, you know. It's too bad that a lot of our history is not in the history books. It's not in the curriculum, you know, and it should be. Like we're close to a lot of the Indians that live in the First Nation, and you know, they don't say "ugh" no more. You know, this is white man's idea. Very intelligent. We have the Chief Taylor down there, and six of the Indians belong in my choir. So when I started the Voices for Life Gospel Choir, I didn't want it all white, all black.
Yeah.
It's every nationality, Chinese, Japanese, Indian is in my choir, and I'm very happy. They seem to be quite happy. I sometimes think that we override our own ideas, and we should open our hearts ourselves to let the ideas of other people come in so that you get a better understanding of what we're all about. Mm-hmm. As Mandela would say, we are not just all about ourselves. We allow you to come in. And it's a great pleasure to be able to say that, you know, because then you know that you're not going to ever be completely lost and say, oh, I'm not prejudiced, because we all have prejudices here. We don't recognize them until they come right up in front of us. So I'm very happy that I was invited here. It brought back a whole lot of memories.
I'm glad.
In fact, my dear friend here.
Watch out.
We're going to get together tonight, kid, you know. time I move my finger. What a world, what a life. I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing.